Morning, it's February the 6th and quite a bit of frost up in the hill this morning, and also, as you can see out here, fog in the vale. Over here you can just see the Wrekin just here. Lovely bit of hill fog just coming over the top of it. Beautiful fog down below, and a bit of snow just up here on the tops. Beautiful day, nice and solid underfoot. Makes a change from Friday when up here was really quite horrendous. It was about 5 degrees and absolutely throwing it down with rain. Real keen wind coming as well, making it very, very miserable up here indeed. But it's a very still morning this morning, and we're just waiting for this weather to come in over the next couple of hours. Some rain to come in. It's all going to warm up a bit, and we're probably in for a spell of wet and windy weather, which probably is going to make it fairly miserable up here again as well. Given that we're up here around about 400 meters above sea level, so we're about 1400 foot, seasons don't come on very early here. We're probably a couple of weeks behind somewhere down in the valley, and equally if you go further south you'll find that spring equally kind of is further advanced here. We just kind of, as a general how you feel nature is feeling about the whole season and all. It's just keep an eye on the trees, you know, what kind of stage they're budding, you know, just to see whereabouts we are at the moment. Although there are buds on the trees, nothing is showing any real signs of up here of spring. Down in the valley, we've just got the first signs of cuckoo pint coming through, Lord and Ladies, which is a very kind of verdant green but inedible plant that you see right at the very beginning of spring coming through, and particularly as we haven't had a particularly severe cold winter this winter so far. Not surprising that some of these very early plants are already beginning to show their sign of coming through, but we'll see what the winter brings. I mean, things like daffodils and stuff like that always tend to come through very early, don't they? So it's kind of it's an early one for us this year again. It hasn't been particularly warm, but again it's not been savagely cold weather, so everything's beginning to think of springs. The birds, even I've noticed, are beginning to think about it. A bit more tweeting in the mornings and beginning to make their kind of spring calls. But of course we could go back into a cold snap. It is only they're all the beginning of February, so plenty of time yet for some cold wintry weather. If I remember, actually they were talking about the great winter of 47, which ranks as one of the worst winters on record, particularly for snow. Actually, it didn't start turning cold until the end of January. So even though everybody talks about it being a bad winter, it wasn't until the end of January that really kicked in. So it's not unreasonable to think that between now and say the middle of March we could get some pretty severe weather so far. I think the latest we've had up here was that famous late spring or late winter snow around about just towards the end of March, which stayed on the ground until almost the end of April here. So it's not unknown. So we'll see. It's all about observation, really. Whether or not it's tracking, whether or not it's navigation. And in this respect, it's all about observing what the weather's doing. particularly here we are kind of in the midst of winter, so although we're just up on the local hills here, just taking dogs out, it's surprising the number of people get caught out because they're not paying attention to what they're doing. They're not paying attention to this, how the environment is changing around them, whether it be a sign of animals activity, whether it be other humans, and in this case whether or not it be the weather. Now quite obviously we got down here, got fog, and we've got over here, we're looking out here to the west, looking into mid Wales. Right through that gap there really is where we're looking towards the Welsh coast, about 60 or 70 miles away. So we've got a good focus on what kind of weather is coming at us really, because we've got a big expanse of sky which is kind of showing us from a long way off what kind of weather is heading towards us. So really there's no excuse for kind of observing, being aware what the weather's doing, any kind of changes that might signal something that you want to pay attention to. I know for instance that wind, okay, if that is southwest, from there that wind's coming on the other quarter, coming from the southeast, which is a cold direction for wind, but it's also not a wind direction I expect anything remarkable to come from in terms of, say, a storm. Now, I'll be looking for, if that wind begins to veer around to that direction, then I'll be thinking, okay, what's changed? Why is the weather changing? We'll be looking at the clouds as well, just tracking the clouds in terms of their direction. Get some idea of which way is the cloud moving. Of course, the clouds can move in a different direction relative to the wind, because this wind might be topography. This wind could be fluking around this hill, so it's not actually coming from the southeast. It could be caused by just differences in height, i.e. wind coming down off going from one high place down to a lower place. So the direction of the clouds is giving us more of an indication of which way this weather's coming. At the moment I look at those clouds, again, give yourself a frame of reference, i.e. just something that you can watch the clouds in terms of how they're moving. And actually these clouds are moving remarkably slowly. There's not much change, but there is that impression of that weather coming in more from southwest rather than from where that wind direction is, which is southeast. So these are quite high clouds. As I look out there into the distance, which is looking out towards South Wales and to the West Country, out there is Brecon Beacons, and you can just see the Black Mountains pushing through the fog. But I can see also that it's a lot more cloudy out there, suggesting there's something coming in. But then it's still, that is quite a ways off yet. That's not anything that's going to hit me immediately. Usually when I'm up here, anything that comes in from there. You can normally see stuff coming in across what is the Sniper Stones, and you know, based on how strong the wind is, you've got somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes before it's going to hit you. So you can usually see the rain coming in over the tops from that direction. It's a beautiful day actually up here. It's nice, and I love it when the fog sits into the valleys like this. Sometimes the fog comes all the way up to the edge of the hill, and you'll see the little just the high ground in mid Wales just poking through like little islands. Really is quite stunning, particularly where it laps up this direction all the way along there. It laps up against the kind of undulations of high ground. This is running down towards Ludlow, for them who are interested. So yeah, it's all about observation. It's about having a keen sense of what's going on around you, not blithely walking into a situation with just the idea that whatever you're carrying is going to be enough to keep you safe and warm from what the natural environment can throw you. Your kit, your equipment will only take you so far, your experience will only take you so far, but an observation of what is happening around you will take you much further on all those things. So this is kind of getting away from reliance on pure reliance on things like GPSs, digital gadgets, which, whilst they're fine, they also take away our own instinctive senses that we have, because after all, we are animals. We have got our instinctive senses, we just don't use them very much nowadays. We rely on technologies, even down to things like maps. You can do a lot of navigating, even with compass. Really, they are tools that kick in when you really don't know a territory, or you don't know, trying to follow a Pacific route. You've got inside yourself your own instinctual, what we call natural navigator, which is hippocampus or hippocampus up here in the head. It gives you a flavour. This is why we don't need to take a map with us when we take our dogs for a walk. We know the route, which is why we don't need a sat nav when we go down to the local supermarket, because we know the route. That's all coming from a hippocampus. So these animal instincts that we have got, it's just that we don't trust them or we don't use them. So a day like today, which is stunningly beautiful up here, it is truly gorgeous and cold, but not too bad. It is not too bad at all. Actually, it's out here, you can just see the sun is hitting the top of the clouds just as they're over the top of the stiper stones. Because you've got the dual, you've got valley fog, and you've got a bit of gap, and then you've got hill fog. Both caused by the same process, but different reasons. Same processes is that, the dew point and the air temperature of it getting quite close together, so that the air is then, water is condensing from the air, causing the fog. And that happens when the cold air sits in the valleys, because of course it's cold and it drops, but equally high ground pushes air up, and that causes, as air rises, of course it cools as well, and that causes exactly the same thing. The dew point and the temperature of the air come closer together, and therefore you've got fog forming. And this is kind of indicative that the weather is changing. When you've got hill fog and valley fog, you've got two kind of weather phenomenon all mixing together, because the thing that dries air up, it tends to be wind. So that suggested that there's wind blowing in the air over the tops, whereas valley fog, it's air kind of dropping down. It's fairly still air. It doesn't have to be still. You can get fog in air that's not still, but that fog is dropped down because the air is allowed to sink down its undulation. As it cools, it sinks and it drops down into the valley and forms this kind of cool or cold well of air. That's why you get the fog sitting in the valley like that. So really, as we sit here at the top of this hill, we're actually on the kind of gap. Although I don't think I'm only 200 metres away from the top here, but I don't think there's some fog up there at the moment. That's because that's mid Wales and that's where the weather's coming in from. So yeah. Right. Nice day. I'm going to carry on. I will take a picture of myself just because that is very nice. And we're going to head down a bit. One last thing also is just descending down here just sound is affected also by air, and just off here, about a quarter of a mile away, you can hear quite plainly a dog, one of the farm dogs woofing, and the sound, obviously, the way that sound travels through air is affected by the air itself. So you get days like this where the air is cold. It's not still, but even so, sound is travelling remarkably freely between me and that farm that's a quarter of a mile away, and it feels like it's very, very close. And my dog whining for no apparent reason. So you get these oddities where sound feels like it's very close at hand, where actually it's quite far away. And on other days you'll feel very cut off because sound is not travelling through the air, and so it feels like there's nothing around. It's all very muffled. You get the same water, and same things happen. In water you get these layers of thermoclines, they call in the water, which is differences between different water temperatures, but also the saline quality of the water. And along within those layers you get these sounds can travel for an incredibly long way. One gets the feeling that whales probably might use that, but also submarines have known to use it for echolocation and sonar, using sonar and using either dropping down below these layers so that they can't be sound, or actually sitting on the layers and actually using these layers to hear further than they normally can. And it's exactly the same in air. So sometimes you'll be surprised by how, for instance, you'll hear people talking which are actually really far away. And of course, in places like Alaska, where you get very cold air that sits on the land for long periods of time, they talk about this, being able to hear people just talking, and they've been a mile away. So it is quite an unusual little thing sometimes to hear these kind of sounds that's coming through, and sometimes it may be a sound that you don't recognise as well either. So it can sometimes be sound that is generated either through artificial noise, through factory processes or some kind of industrial process that you're hearing, and it's coming through just because the wavelength is being transmitted very easily through the kind of the air conditions at that time.